everyone, Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. Welcome back, and if you are new, thanks so much for checking out my channel. Please hit subscribe and stick around. Today I am going to be talking about my reaction to the Canada Reads Shortlist, which was announced yesterday. And I will talk a little bit about the books, the people or celebrities who are defending the books, and I will attempt to predict a winner. If you haven't had a chance to watch my video from a couple of weeks ago, I will link it up top and in the description box below. I attempted to predict the shortlist, and I had 2 of the books correct, so that's something. And that video will tell you more about what Canada Reads is, the long-listed books, if you're interested in that. So usually I wait until like mid to end of February, sometimes even the beginning of March to do this video, because I usually have several books to read. But this year I have read all of the books, so I figured that I would just jump right in. Last year the winner was in my top 2 picks, so we will see how this year goes. I'm going to start off by saying that I think this might be in some ways the strongest Canada Reads shortlist in a long time. In my opinion, all 5 books are worth reading. There's not a bad book in the bunch. Unfortunately, I do think that there are some gems still in the long list that were overlooked. But I get it. You have to pare the list down somehow. But since I don't have any shortlisted books to read and kind of get caught up on for the debates, I think that I will spend some time reading, some of the long-listed books until the debates at the end of March. So in the conversations that I've had with people who have followed Canada Reads for a long time, there are a few thoughts out there. Several of the books on the shortlist have received some major awards, including 2 of them that are Giller Prize winners. And we Canadians, we often like to root for the underdog, and many people, myself included, I like to see, some of the books and authors who wouldn't always get the attention that they deserve. And I like that Canada Reads kind of can have a spotlight for them. But this shortlist doesn't really allow for that. So if you are looking for that, I highly recommend, checking out the books that are on the long list. Also a reminder that this year's theme is community and who we are in the world we live in. And I will say that I think for the first time in a very long time, all of the shortlisted books, fit the theme in obvious ways. Sometimes books have not made it far in the competition because the books, they haven't always been as relevant to the theme. Okay, so enough blabbering, Jolene. Let's take a look at these books. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Life in the City of Dirty Water by Clayton Thomas-Müller. So again, I'm not going to go into great detail about these, because I've already talked about them sometimes several times. But I am going to tell you kind of the arguments that I see for the books and the arguments on why, they may not get chosen. So first, let me tell you about who is defending this book. Suzanne Simard is defending Life in the City of Dirty Water. And I have never heard of Suzanne Simard before. But she is a professor at the University of British Columbia, and it seems she is a good fit for this book, since she is an environmentalist, and she has written her own book called, Finding the Mother Tree, which it sounds very interesting, and it is now on my radar. I will leave a link to her website in the description box. I will leave a link for all of the defenders below. So if you've watched my previous videos where I talk about this book, you know that I loved the beginning of Life in the City of Dirty Water. It was so powerful. This is an important story. Clayton Thomas-Müller's memoir shares the experience of Indigenous people, colonialism, and intergenerational trauma. It also talks about his activism, especially regarding environmental issues. So again, very important. So the pros are that, it has stories of Indigenous peoples living in Canada. It has themes of survival and overcoming obstacles. Oh, excuse you. Bless you. Sorry, my puppies are sneezing. So as I was saying, it has themes of survival and overcoming obstacles, conversion, and activism. What I think this might have going against it is that these themes and Indigenous stories are in some of the other novels, and I think that they are done in some ways in the other books better. It's also the only nonfiction book on the list, and nonfiction, doesn't tend to do well in the competition. Somehow in the debates they go out early, so I think that this book will be in the bottom 2, and I'm guessing that it will be the first voted off. Excuse me while I tend to a dog who obviously needs something. Okay, so the next book that I think will be in the bottom 2 is one of the Giller Prize books, and that is What's Strange Paradise by Omar El Akkad. I actually think that one of the strongest things that this book has going for it in this particular debate is the person who is defending it. Tareq Hadhad is a Syrian refugee, a huge Canadian success story. Tareq and his family now live in Nova Scotia, and they own and run a very successful business called Peace by Chocolate. And not only is their chocolate delicious, but their story is amazing, and the message of a peace that they spread through their chocolate business is very inspiring. And a book called Peace by Chocolate has been written about their lives, their story. So it is still on my TBR, so maybe I will check that out before the debates as well. So having Tareq champion a book about, Syrian refugees is, I think, going to be very powerful, as, he has already won the hearts of so many Canadians. And in fact, it's kind of ironic that he is the only defender that I've heard of before these announcements yesterday. But the competition is about the books. And I think that these themes of refugees and survival, although important, and it's a well-written book that will also tug at your heartstrings, I think it is done better in another book. So we will see if this book will make it past the first couple of rounds, but I have a feeling that it will be the second voted off. Oh my goodness. Okay, this is hard, and I'm not even the one making the final decision. Okay, so I'm really just guessing here. So next is another Giller Prize book, Washington Black by Esi Edugyan. I think this book is going to fall in the middle. This is being defended by Mark Tewksbury, who is an Olympic swimmer, and he has written 3 books himself, including one that talks about him coming out as gay in 1998 and being one of the only openly gay Olympic champions in the world at that time. So Washington Black is a great book. It's another one for me that started off really strong and kind of lost its oomph by the end. But I loved Wash, the main character, and it has important themes. This book has several settings, beginning in Barbados and the US, and a small portion of it is set in Canada and Nova Scotia. There is nothing in the competition that says the books have to be set in Canada, but the argument of setting has been used in the past. Same as What's Strange Paradise. It's not set in Canada, but it's an experience that goes beyond Canada. So that can either help or hinder a book, depending on how the defender chooses to approach it. So Similar themes like we've seen in the other books, you know, overcoming obstacles, racism, family, freedom. It's a great book, but I think that other books will come out on top. So that leaves us with the final two, and I would love to see these books be the final two that kind of battle it out. I would be happy either way with the outcome. So Five Little Indians by Michelle Good is being defended by Christian Allaire, who is an Ojibway writer and also the fashion and style writer for Vogue. This book, I think, brings Indigenous stories and especially the theme of intergenerational trauma, brings it to light in a unique way. I think it's done respectfully, with brutal honesty, and without worrying that, you know, it might hurt a lot. And the five main characters find community, they support one another, in many ways they kind of create their own family. And this is a story about who we are in the world we live in. And that's not just for the people in the story, and it's not just for Indigenous people, you know, who have similar experiences, but I think that it's about who all of us are and what our part in the story that we are living is. And then the other book is Scarborough by Catherine Hernandez. I just finished this book yesterday, so I actually haven't shared much about this story. But I will talk about it more when I do my wrap up next week. I should tell you about the Defender. Defending Scarborough is the youngest Defender that they've ever had on Canada Reads, and that is Canadian actress Malia Baker. She's been on some Netflix shows that you might recognize her from. She is only 15 years old, so I hope that she does well. And first, before I talk more about Scarborough, I do have to apologize, especially to my Scarborough peeps, because Jen from Remembered Reads, she pointed out to me in the comments of my last video on this that Scarborough is a community in Toronto. And when I saw Jen's comment, I was like, I know this. Why is she saying this? So I had to go back and watch what I said in the video. And, you know, sure enough, I said that it was east of Toronto, when in fact that's not true. So it is a community, quite a large community in the eastern part of the city of Toronto. So I wanted to make sure that I clarified that. And thanks to Jen for noticing and letting me know. So like Five Little Indians, I think that Scarborough, the book, is a story about community and who we are in the world we live in. I think that these two books encapsulate that theme the best. And much like the characters in Five Little Indians, the characters in Scarborough are marginalized. They have experienced racism, and they are trying their best to live in a world that puts up barriers and systems that go against them. And also, like Five Little Indians, you know, the characters are well developed, the story is compelling, the structure in Scarborough and the writing of this book is so interesting and unique. And ultimately, I had to choose, and I think that Scarborough is going to be the winner of Canada Reads 2022. And the reason that I think this edges Five Little Indians out is because I really did struggle between the two, but it's the diversity of the community that's represented and the characters in Scarborough. It represents all of us in many ways. There were Indigenous people, there are refugees, people of different backgrounds, faiths, cultures, races, and they are all trying to live in community. And I think that ultimately that's what we should be doing as Canadians, and that's what the theme is about. So I have high hopes that 15-year-old Malia will be able to hold her own in the debates. So those are my thoughts on the Canada Reads 2022 shortlist. The debates take place March 28th to the 31st, when we will find out the one book that all of Canada should read. Please let me know your thoughts. I would be very interested. Which book are you hoping will win? Were there books that you were hoping would make it to the shortlist that didn't? I am hoping to read some of the books off the long list. So if you have some suggestions on where I should start, please let me know in the comments below. And I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.